politics never ends. And we have just 1 year to election. So, I mean, there are a lot of things. And with the experience that one has built over the years on the job, you would be required to do, quite a number of things. Even though I'm doing some lecturing in the university, trying to impact knowledge, doing a few other things out of politics, I'm still very, very, very active, very, very active. And from February, I've been playing a very key role in President Mahama's mission to stage a huge comeback.
How was that?
I mean, that has been great. I mean, the results is there for everybody to see. I think that it's been a very, very successful mission. Our expectations, our outcomes have been, exceedingly great. And, it's gratifying. It's very gratifying.
The back and forth with Dr. Kwabena Dufo. I know that within your camp, President Mahama says there's no disunity and all of that. But how did you take it as a former Deputy General Secretary? You were just about to be Secretary, but Fifi Kwete got that slot. You contested keenly with him, and it was an honorable contest. But how did you look at it?
Well, it's a political contest. And like ours and like any other internal political contest, when the opportunity comes, there are a number of people who would have variable interests. And take note that no politician goes into an elections without an objective. The objective could be variable. Some may be going in to win. Some may be going in to test the waters. Somebody is going in to just make a mark. You understand? So when there is an opportunity for a position to be grabbed, people would rush. People would come in. And their objectives is what drives what they do. And so for Dr. Dufo and the others who wanted to lead the party, I think that, it was important that they took that initiative at this time. And it has been very good for the party. It has been very healthy for our internal democracy. Except that, the last minute decisions that were made by Dr. Dufo was not helpful.
Were you
for
disappointed?
Himself, yes, for himself, and
were you disappointed?
For his political future and perhaps the political future of his children. I was heavily disappointed. Because I was neck deep in the engagement with the party on these preparations, and given the constraints and how the party wanted to improve the processes and make it even more transparent than the previous ones. I think that they took a very commendable step to achieve that. Except that, last minute when there were these disagreements over virtually nothing, and you would decide to injunct the process, you would incur the wrath of the people. You understand? So I see mostly the results as a reflection of the anger of the people, because first of all, the people were angry that, okay, look, we are hungry for power. We need power. Power is almost here, and we are going to grab power with President Mahama. And you are coming to put sand in the gari. So already that perception would grow from the ground, because everybody wants President Mahama back. Even those outside the party want President Mahama back. So anybody contesting President Mahama will start off as an enemy of the people, an enemy of progress.
And that's how the people perceived it.
Yes. And so it was on the ground. In fact, when I was campaigning last year, I went around the country. I was the only candidate that toured every single constituency, 276. I went to every single constituency. I didn't meet constituencies in groups. I was the only candidate that did that. And everywhere you go, they will tell you, look, nobody should contest President Mahama. Our problem for this party, what we want you to do as our General Secretary, is to allow President Mahama to go unopposed, to allow President Mahama to have the time, the space, and all the support to win the elections. So the people were very, expectant of a President Mahama leadership. So having, come to the preparations for the primaries and having Dr. Dufo declare, Kojobo should declare that they want to contest and all that, obviously you would expect that the party people will not be happy. Then they have managed the process. the campaign has gone on smoothly. I mean, it was devoid of, personal attacks ostensibly. President Mahama virtually did the campaign across the country without even mentioning, his opponents or talking about them. It was a beautiful contest. Then, just almost to the end of the contest, where people want to put this thing behind them and move forward and fight for power, then you injunct the process. You would incur even more bigger wrath from the people.
The flag bearer elect of the NDC, John Mahama, yesterday spoke. I mean, he was very grateful to everybody who had helped his campaign. But then he reiterated the point that he would not appoint more than 60 ministers. Question, is it possible to rule this country with 60 or less than 60 ministers, especially given our experience from the Fourth Republic, right from J.J. Rawlings to Akufo-Addo? Is it possible?
It is very possible. Johnny, you see, go to the advanced economies. Look at the American economy. How big the American economy is. And ask yourself, how many ministers does the United States of America run their government with? It doesn't reach 60. It doesn't.
Did it take opposition for John Mahama to realize this?
But we run a lean government.
When you say lean,
perhaps the leanest in the history of the Fourth Republic in terms of the appointments of ministers and deputy ministers. President Mahama has done the smallest of government in terms of ministers. So perhaps with that experience, he can tell you that you can even efficiently run this government with about 60 ministers. You see, sometimes the decision to create portfolios, particularly with what President Akufo-Addo has done, I don't think has been driven with the need for efficiency as a government.
Why do you say that?
The need for output. I think ostensibly it has been driven by the need to sort the boys out. You understand? Create positions so that everybody will get something, balance the system, because they have fought very hard and power has come. If you have a president that carries an ultimate vision of building an efficient, workable system, building a transparent, strong government that delivers on its promises, that government would select the kind of human resource that will be efficient and effective enough with the small size, be able to deliver on its promises. But
President Akufo-Addo said that he needed the numbers to be able to deliver. And he was a man in a hurry.
And clearly, the man in the hurry, with all the numbers that he needed, he got the numbers. And you have seen the results. In fact, President Akufo-Addo has performed worse than any government in the Fourth Republic.
Who are you?
We have never seen this level of performance in the history even in the history of Ghana. We have not seen this kind of performance. Because look at 1979, the kind of economic quagmire that engulfed this country, and compare it to now, it's actually worse. Forget about the Yentria, a champion time where we were saying Yentria. The kind of crisis that we're in, debt crisis that we're in at the time, is far better than what we are in now. Look, now, Johnny, the country is bankrupt. When they say a country is bankrupt, just like they say a company is bankrupt, what it simply means is that it is dead. It is non-functional. Nothing works in the company. So for a company that produces and sells and has inflows and there are outflows, what it simply means is that when that company is bankrupt, then there is no inflow. So you must continue to pour out. And if you must continue to pour out, you cease to exist. And that is what is happening to Ghana now.
But the IMF deal is almost sealed.
And I'm telling you that by June, if we are not lucky, if there is no divine intervention, clearly from what we are seeing, the divine intervention appears to be crawling very slow. But if that divine intervention does not arrive in Ghana, Johnny, we may not be able to pay salaries in July.
But the IMF money, August, the first tranche is coming in by the close of this week.
And that's what you were told.
Yes. You don't believe that?
You believe it?
I'm asking you.
But we've been told several times. how we have been, upbeat about this, IMF program coming in, monies are coming in here and there. Look, from last year, the reason why inflation has shot up, the reason why our currency is dangling, I mean, granted that they have deployed all this, doping into the monetary management and the exchange rate management and all that. I think I'll find time to talk about that. But granted all that, still, the economy is struggling in terms of the monetary sector, is struggling in terms of the fiscal sector. Exchange rate is on the roofs, inflation is on the roofs and all that, because for the past 1.5 years, almost 2 years, we have not been able to borrow, because we have borrowed over and over and over and over to the extent that now nobody is ready to borrow us any money.
But we had 610.
Even the domestic market, market is not ready. Nobody is ready to put his money into government. Government bonds were the most secured. Everybody will put his money there. Now nobody wants to put his money there. So they are not able to get money from the domestic market. Neither are they able to get money from the international market. So what they do is that they rely on Bank of Ghana. So Bank of Ghana funds the budget. Are you aware that as part of the WAMU regulations, I mean, what we signed to, you are not able to get more than 5% of your budget funded by your central bank. But now we are hovering around, almost 30, 40, 50%. Because we are not getting the money.
Are we in a hopeless situation?
Incidentally, if you look at the data from last year, revenue is doing very well. We are doing well with revenue. In fact, our targets, we actually overshoot our targets.
We exceed our
we
targets.
exceed. You understand? But why are we still in this crisis? Why are we having this, huge?
Are you suggesting that numbers are being cooked for us?
I have made this point in time with that number. And you see, Johnny, it appears that this government thrives on deception. And they feel that deceiving the people is the way out, of managing their incompetencies. But there comes a time where the reason why they are struggling with the IMF?
I don't know. Tell me.
One of the reasons was because some of the books that they presented were questionable. That was the reasons why. That is one of the reasons
they were
why
not open to the IMF.
They were not open to the IMF, and they have not been open to us, Johnny. You and I, over the period. Look, are you aware that the monetary sector is actually a function of our debt management?
3FM.
The last two monetary policy committee reports that have been released by this government, the MPC report, failed to even talk about our debt stock. Go and check. I read the first quarter report and it failed to talk about our debt stock. So as we speak, the debt stock has become something like a monster. Everybody is afraid to talk about it. They can't even tell us how much we are owing. They can't tell us how much we are owing. I bet you now our debt to GDP is over 103-4%. Johnny, so the country is virtually on its knees. It's begging for some defibrillation.
How long will it take for us to get out of this hole?
Well, I mean, from the practical point of view, and from my knowledge in economics and how economics run, when you put in a policy, an economic policy, there's what we call the lag period. It takes time for the
to kick in.
Yeah, for the policy to kick in.
That's right.
And for you to see the results. Now, for how speedily the policy kicks in depends on the fundamentals of the economy, how efficiently the fundamentals are positioned.
3FM.
Now, if you look at what has happened in the past 3-4 years and where we are now, it has increased the lag period. Because you see, when you put in a policy, it must take time to sort itself, filter in, sip in, and be able to produce the results. So even if we are changing the way we are managing the economy today, it will take time, more than 2 years. In fact, the lag period until 2016 from the models, the economic models that were running, was about a year. But now, it will go to about 2 years to 3 years.
That means
that means that if we even decide to change the fundamentals, change the leadership, do something about the economy from today, we may be seeing the results in about 3 years. And
that would mean that if you, now that you want to come back into power, if you need about 3 years, which means that you will not be able to fix the issues.
So I'm going to that. So what it means is that now we need a quick fix. President Mahama, even before this primaries, from about 2 years ago, had put a team together that is working thoroughly round the clock to develop a quick fix for our economy. That quick fix is the only way out that will shorten the lag period, that will shorten the return of this economy onto its feet. And I believe that what we are proposing, what we would be proposing, would be an efficient way to bring this economy back on its feet.
So why don't you share it with government if you did care about Ghana? Share it with them.
But do we share anything with this government? What haven't we shared? Didn't we say that the yield levy was going to cause troubles for the economy? We made noise about yield levy. In fact, it got to the point where we had to throw blows. Yes, still. They said they would do it. They did it. And they have come back. The chickens came home to roost. They had to review the rates that, they were pushing. What we were saying, it came to pass. When they were borrowing, we spoke about this borrowing. We said, no, this is not a smart way of borrowing. This is going to crash the economy. We are going to lose out on our credit ratings. We may not be able to get money anywhere. They said, we would borrow because we are borrowing wisely. We have the men. We have a solid team. What happened to the solid team? I guess now it has become gaseous. They don't want to even mention their names. Nobody wants to ascribe himself to the economic management team. Even the vice president himself, who is supposed to be chairing the economic management team, doesn't want to talk about the economic management team. Last time I heard him crying somewhere that he was not allowed to work. Who didn't allow you to work?
But he's working at
You are the vice president. Who didn't allow you to work? Who? Kenoforiata. He didn't allow you to work. How? The vice president was not allowed to work by the finance minister. Johnny, you see, I think that this government, I don't know if they have any modicum of sensitivity to the plight of the people. Otherwise, they should be doing an introspection, and they should be doing a fair, clean introspection, and they should be making some decisions. Look, this finance minister has failed the people. He has failed his party. His own members of parliament, about half of them, they've called for his dismissal. The president, in fact, foreign investors have called for the dismissal of the finance minister. In fact, foreign diplomats have called for the dismissal of the finance minister.
The president believes
if the finance minister is going to be replaced today or tomorrow, we don't know. The last time you asked the president, what did he say?
Well,
he has confidence in the finance minister.
That's right.
You see, the reason why, and let me say this
quickly.
You see, economy thrives on information. Every economy thrives on information. Monetary decisions, fiscal decisions, the performance of the money market thrives on information. Look, if the finance minister is removed today, that alone, the kind of impact it will have on the market, you have no idea. Because when people lack confidence in the system, in the managers of the system, they will respond to the lack of confidence, and that is what we are facing.
Do you think that the finance minister is being kept as post, as some people have suggested, because he's doing a cover-up for the president and some other appointees?
Well, would they be wrong? Would they be wrong? I think that we are not able to change our finance minister, because I'm sure he's even more powerful than the president. Because apparently he made the president.
You cannot say that.
Oh yes, but he made the president.
The president is number one.
No, the finance minister actually made the president. And if you would recall, somewhere in 2014, 2015, when they had their debt crisis, the party debt crisis with Prudential Bank, it was the finance minister at the time who was, in charge of the finance committee of the party and leading President Akufo-Addo's finances that took charge of the debt and dealt with the debt. In fact, he's virtually the godfather of even the vice president. He's the political godfather of the vice president.
The finance minister is more powerful than the president. It can be justified because even if you go to the UK, number 10 is the prime minister, number 11 is the chancellor of the exchequer. I mean, he's the chief finance advisor to the whole government. So if you say that,
but I'm not even talking about it in the technical terms. I'm not even speaking about it in technical terms. I'm speaking about it in political terms.
Okay.
And in political terms, such that the finance minister is the one who determines even how.
Are you there at cabinet?
But
how did you come by this information?
Johnny, you and I have been in this country. We have observed how things are run in this government, and you can make clear and concise inference from how this government is run.
You're close to John Mahama. Does he get worried that if this quick fix approach that you have to bring the economy back to on its feet and then close the lag time and then rebound, if it doesn't work, that everybody will blame him and say, we told you, don't give this thing to this man? Does he get worried?
He doesn't have to get worried because, you see, he knows exactly what he's made up of. The entire failure of this economy, of this government, is a function of leadership. You understand? And that is what President Mahama is having. He's a leader of character. And he's a very sensitive leader to the plights of the people. He's a leader of compassion. He thinks and cares about the people. When you have a leader who thinks and cares about the people, who is compassionate, that tells a lot about how he manages the economy. And that is what President Mahama is made up of.
See,
we have seen what he has done in his presidency, the 4 years that he was in office.
He was called incompetent.
And, yes, and we saw the results.
He was called incompetent.
And guess what, Johnny? The incompetent president, the work that he did is what we've been living on the past 7 years. Every single bit of it. Pick agriculture, pick health, pick every single bit of it. Every single bit of it.
Now, yesterday we spoke with Professor Edu Jemfi of the KNUST, and we had a conversation about the primaries. One of the things that came up was the fact that most of the professionals that put themselves up for the PC ship were rejected at the polls. He mentioned one professor with whom he teaches at the KNUST, who was also, I think Professor Jima or something.
Benya.
Yeah, Benya, who was rejected at the polls, and that the electorates will feel the pepper.
Setra from place, Professor Benya.
Yes, he said they will feel the pepper after all has been said and done, because they brought professionals and you rejected them. Is your party anti-professionals?
I strongly disagree with him. I'm a professional.
92.7.
I'm a professional. I'm an agric economist. I'm a lecturer in banking and finance.
Are you rejected?
But, no.
You were rejected as general secretary?
No, I wasn't rejected.
But
I'm sitting here.
But you went
I'm
down,
sitting here.
when you
I am neck deep in the system.
No,
You
but
see, I'm making a point. You see, there are so many professionals in the party holding variable positions in the party. Now, it is important to underscore the point that professionals are very important in politics. But politics is not only about elective positions. I wasn't elected last year as the General Secretary of the NDC, but I'm playing very, very critical role, central role. You have no idea. You understand? So it's not about only the elective positions. The fact that some professor or some doctor has lost an elections doesn't mean that the party would pay or the party would not have the service of that professor. You understand? Look, it doesn't matter whether you are a professor emeritus. When you go to parliament, you start from class 1.
From the back bench?
Yes, from the back bench. And there is a reason why you start from the back bench. Because you see, the standing orders, the modus of running parliament is not taught in the classroom. You don't write PhDs on it. You understand? So when you go to parliament with a farmer who can simply read and write, you start from the same class. And if you are not careful, the farmer who is in parliament 4 years ahead of you would have to be teaching you to be able to be efficient in parliament. So I think that assertion may be woefully, problematic, defective. And I believe that those who contested the elections and lost, if they really want to be true politicians, this is a very, very huge opportunity for them to show that really they want to serve the people well, not about just losing and going to sit somewhere and feeling that nobody wanted you in the party. The party people, when they vote against you, it's not because they don't want you. I don't feel that because I lost the elections last year, the party people don't want. In actual fact, when you go out there, you see how much they love you. But at certain points in time, when they have to make decisions about who lead the party, there are so many factors that come in making that decision. And when they arrive at that decision, it is mostly a perfect one that yields results.
The people you have selected for the parliamentary slots, and if you will, the national executive you have now, regional executives and constituency executives, do you think those are the men you need to conquer the 2024 elections?
We couldn't have had it any better. I think that it's a very, very solid combination. I mean, pick it from the national level. I mean, you would see clearly that if we are even doing a head-to-head comparison with the MPP, they are completely dwarfed at all levels, from flag bearer to national chairman to general secretary to the last person. Who are you going to compare to the NDC? I mean, they are completely dwarfed.
Team doesn't come close to General Secretary.
Absolutely nowhere close to General Mosquito. General Mosquito is a colossus. You understand? He's a colossus. I mean, which politician in Ghana are you going to compare to General Mosquito? Now, you can't find any. You understand? Now, pick our General Secretary and pick their General Secretary. And I used to say this. Look, even for those of us who were in the contest for General Secretaryship compared to the MPP, nowhere, absolutely nowhere. Look at my experience, my knowledge skills. I mean, all those things together, they are nowhere. Pick to the last person. Now let's look at parliamentary candidates that we have elected. Just take a look around. Look at the list.
So somebody will say you're behaving like the Abedipele, Tonyeboa, what do you call it, Mohamed Gago team that had the best Senegal of players, but they could never take us to the World Cup.
Well,
3FM,
that may be your expectation. That okay, you have a very solid team, and I'm very happy you have mentioned the solid team. So we have the competent players, we have the General Mosquitoes and all that. But you are thinking that there may be a possibility that we do not perform or will not perform in 2024. But be rest assured. I mean, if there is anything I can bet my last coin on, I can tell you about the results of 2024. Now, before these elections, I was saying that, look, President Mahama is going to get between 98 and 99%. And there was a reason why, not forget about all the promises, making the noise everywhere. But there was a reason, because there are methods that you can use to estimate those things. Now, for 2024 elections, the only thing between us and victory may be the Electoral Commission.
Why do you say that?
Yes.
That's a serious statement to make.
Yes. The only thing between the NDC...
Dr. Simbo says you are their friends.
Yeah, I'm saying that. The only thing between the NDC coming to power in 2024 would be the Electoral Commission. Now, I do not even see if President Akufo-Addo can use the security forces like he used in 2024. I do not see that.
But that's a serious thing to say.
Oh, yes.
Very serious thing. And why would you say that at this time of our national life? I mean, we have had, since 1992, all these years trying to build a fledgling democracy.
This is the most partisan electoral commission ever existed in this country. I don't know about other countries, but this is the most partisan, to the extent that party activists, the president has the temerity to appoint party activists into the offices of the Electoral Commission. And I bet you, all the new entrants that have been put in the Electoral Commission from 2019 have been solely selected based on the fact that they are party party activists.
Dr. Super Kwaku says they will not change anything
If they
because,
were even
because the elections are decided at the polling station.
You see, even if they were recruiting the lower officials and they were considering party operatives, that may not be a problem. But just recently, when the opportunity came to fill up the commission, party activists, pure party activists, people we engage on radio interactions with, NDC MPP have been appointed. Dr. Bossman. But Dr. Bossman has been a very good friend from Legon campus, even when I was a student and he was a lecturer. And when he was doing the 10 patron thing, we would engage and do arguments. We meet and do arguments. NDC MPP, he was made deputy commissioner. Jean Mensah, we had seen the role of Jean Mensah in our politics in this country. She was made the electoral commissioner. And as if all the complaints that we made were not enough, they stood up to us like we were in contest with them in the last elections. And it has always been the case. Look, the only thing between the NDC and government in 2024 is the Electoral Commission. And everything that we will do to remove this roadblock to make sure that we get that victory and come and save this nation.
Everything like what?
Is what we are going to do.
Everything like what?
Everything.
Like what?
Absolutely everything.
Like what?
Absolutely everything.
You are in a party that has consistently trumpeted the fact that the economy is tight. In fact, when you came in, the first comment you made was that the economy is tight. But at your primaries, we saw a lady spraying cash, 100 CD bills. And how do you marry the two? You see,
was it 100 CDs?
Yes, that's what our reporters told us on the ground. And she said she found the money in the car and she started throwing the money around. You are telling everybody Kromayeshi and you are spraying cash. How do you marry the two?
Johnny, I think that was a very unfortunate incident. When I saw it, I was a bit disappointed. But it doesn't mean that Kromunyeshi. You understand? It doesn't mean that Kromunyeshi. Because if, for example, the lady is carrying 1,000 Ghana and he decides to flip the 1,000 Ghana,
we saw more than 1,000 Ghana.
That doesn't mean that Kromunyeshi.
Saturday we saw more than 1,000 Ghana.
Imagine that she had only 1,000 Ghana and she threw, and you have the video. You would say, she's throwing money. So that means that Kromunyeshi. But you see, let's deal with the matter in this essence. What she did was wrong. As a politician, it is very wrong to do that public outing with money as a politician. The
OSC is investigating. Do you think she's been picked on?
Another ridiculous move.
Oh, how?
What is the OSP going to investigate? In fact, when I saw that news yesterday, I was heavily disappointed. There are very important things.
Like what?
Very important is all these corruption allegations. Look at Alistair Matthias. Look at the things he has said about the government. I've not heard the OSP on it. You see, Johnny, this is symptomatic of the kind of government that we are having. I think we are not being serious in this country. All right, some opposition politician who is going for primaries, a private business person who has thrown money on screen, and OSP says he's going to investigate what?
But this is not the first time. You remember in the GISO when the DC MC candidate who was caught on tape saying that he gave people money to influence their vote and that they should return his money because he lost.
Last year at the MPP conference, you didn't see the amount of money that was being shared. Almost all those sharing those monies. As Amabatin came on air and said, how much money was spent and all that. All those people were public officials. How many of them were invited?
92.7.
How many of them were invited or were investigated? So this is so ridiculous. There are serious issues. Kwabena Frimpong Boateng has given a damning revelation about what is going on in the extractive sector. What is the OSP doing? Here again, cantata. We are here to play again. Then OSP is investigating what?
But are you suggesting that the OSP is not investigating the Frimpong Boateng report?
No, you are a journalist, so you can provide.
I don't know. So William, the Kwabena Frimpong Boateng sat down with Alfredo Kansi, said the OSP is investigating procurement aspect of the work of the interministerial committee and not necessarily the report.
Well,
where 47.
So you saw the
and all
letter.
that.
You saw the letter. The letter was very explicit about what the OSP was
but
investigating.
I have a question for you. I mean, President Mahama, former President Mahama, is now the candidate. We're comparing the people in the NPP and the NDC. The baseline voters over the years, if you look at it, it's been like 45 on both sides. Then we have about 8 to 8.5% floating voters. What do you think President Mahama is bringing on board to get something out of those numbers in terms of the 8 to 8.5 to lead, the NDC to victory?
Okay,
What new is he bringing?
You see, first of all, there is everything new in experience. When you have experience and you are taking a step from point A to point B, you take the step differently to achieve different results. Because if you do the same thing every time, you get the same results. President Mahama has run this country and has had some loads of experience, both in managing the government, managing corruption, managing development, and all that. President Mahama has shown, even after the office, that he is the kind of leader that carries the character, that carries the zeal, the ability, the will, and the wit to be able to do what the people want. Now, the middle class have already made up their mind because they have seen President Mahama. They have seen the Akufo-Addo government. They have seen how even President Mahama has related to them in opposition and when he was in government, and what President Akufo-Addo has done. What President Mahama brings on board, which I think will attract a lot of the middle class, as you claim, would be his experience, his knowledge, his skills, and above all, his sound policies. Listen to some of the policies he put out yesterday. We are yet to, put up our manifesto. But he has made very, very significant policy statements. You have alluded to one about the 60 ministers and all that. He has also said that he is going to change the emoluments regime, cancel ex gratia, such that even before the law is amended, all his ministers that he will appoint, he would have to commit them to the decision even before the amendment is done.
But there's a law. That is an entrenched clause in the law, a provision in the law.
So President Mahama is saying that
you need a referendum for that.
So pending the referendum, he will commit his ministers. He will commit all his appointees under that article that you are not entitled to any ex gratia. That means a lot. See, that is a leader that is ready to fix the system. It's a leader that is committed. I have heard, the responses after he made, the first statement about this as gratia thing from the MPP, and it appears everybody is crying. Look, everybody wants their largesse. Everybody wants to enjoy some. Don't you think even NDC people may not be happy with this kind of, decision? A lot of people will not be happy because they will be looking out for those largesse to come in. But it takes a leader of compassion and of character and of firm mind to put his foot down and say, look, this one we got to buy the bullet. I will not say tighten your belt. Then me, I would be enjoying and filling my belly.
I see.
And getting pot belly. So when you tighten your belt, the leaders must tighten their belt.
Okay.
And that is what President Akufo-Addo is not doing. President Akufo-Addo is saying that pay more taxes because we had debt. We are having debt. We must pay the debt. We must balance our budget. But President Akufo-Addo is not ready to tighten his belt. He is feeding more and yet trying to tax you more to balance the budget.
We have to be wrapping up at this point. One of the allegations that Tim Dufour had against you was that you couldn't collate results, and you turn around blaming him and the people around him, calling them bitter and all of that. Has the NDC learned lessons in election collation such that in 2024 you will not be making noise again, go to court, you can't present documents and results?
Johnny, let me tell you for a fact that what happened in 2020 was not our inability to collate results.
What happened?
But why? If you couldn't collate results 1 minute, you couldn't collate results after 1 hour. After 1 year, can't you collate the results? Collation of results does not make you victorious. You understand? The victory of the elections goes beyond just putting the numbers together. It's a process. It's an electoral process. And the process starts from the very first day you lose the last election. That is when you start preparing. So the 2020 elections was not just because we couldn't collate results, maybe under 1 hour, under 2 hours, or under 3 hours. But it is symptomatic of a system. And that is why I said, look, the victory between the NDC in 2024, the victory depends solely on whether the Electoral Commission decides to become an Electoral Commission or an Electoral Committee of the NPP.
92.7.
See, we have to go. What's Peter's favorite food, and which of John Mahama's campaign songs is your favorite?
Coming again, coming again.
Okay.
And let me tell you something. You know, in 2020, you know what brought about the DJ Boamah?
Yeah, tell me.
I'd been soaked in this particular song for a very long time. And I mean, when I'm even sleeping, it rings in my ears. Coming again. So when Jean Mensa declared the results and we were all down, and President Mahama had to address the press, I had to prepare the platform to introduce him to come and speak. So I had been charging the base to prepare him to come in.
Right.
Then he was in the office upstairs. So they gave me a signal that he was coming.
Okay.
Then I increased the tempo.
Okay.
Gave them morale. And for 15 minutes I was giving them morale and he was not coming.
For a moment the Vandabula entered you.
And for 3 days I had not slept. So I had grown very weak. And for 15 minutes I was charging. And before I took the mic, they were playing Coming Again.
Okay.
So when I say Choboy, Choboy, DJ.
And we have Womanpreneur coming up in a bit. Peter, we have to go. Your closing thoughts as we wrap up. What's your favorite food, by the way? What do you eat to keep you energized?
My favorite food is gobe.
Gobe. Oh, yes. Man, you should have been at the Gobe Festival.
Yes. In fact, I really wanted to be at the Gobe Festival, but I had something to do on the field. So I was out of Accra during that weekend. Right. But I think that was a very innovative thing that you guys did.
Do you still have your eyes on the General Secretaryship?
Well, I mean, you can't talk about General Secretaryship now. We have power to win 2024. And, you know, Johnny, I'm the kind of person, I don't keep long-term ambitions.
Okay.
Yes, it is the circumstances that drive the decision that I make. I don't carry long-term ambitions. I set up short-term goals.
Okay.
Yes, 1 year. So,
and you get that done.
So my mind is not on General Secretary at all. Okay. At all.
What margins are you winning the 2024 elections with?
2024, the margin would be very huge.
Against Boamah, against Dr. Boamah, if John Mahama comes up against Dr. Boamah, what will be the margin?
I will be very frank with you. The margin with which we will win the 2024 elections will be dependent on who becomes the candidate for the MP.
Okay, so I'm asking candidate by candidate.
But
Boamah, what will be the figures?
For Boamah, we are not looking at anything less than 800,000.
Okay, and then for Kennedy Japan?
For Kennedy Japan, I'm sure we would skip 1 million.
1 million. And then for Alan Chamatin?
We are not looking at anything less than 900,000.
And then Engineer Kwabena Japan?
Kwabena Japan?
Yes.
Oh, Kwabena Japan.
Joe Gatti.
But you see, I let's not pick all of them. I don't foresee any of them apart from, you know, Alan and perhaps maybe Boamah coming up.
Not even Kennedy Japan.
No, I don't foresee that. I anticipate that we may have a Boamah, you know, government leadership or maybe an Alan leadership coming against us in 2024. And for all of them, it's going to be a huge walkover. You see, the as I said, the factors that will determine the 2024 elections are replete. I mean, it is clear. And people have made up their minds already. In fact, the MPP themselves know that Boamah would be a no-no. And perhaps maybe Alan will be a better option for them because they will have a better story to tell with with Alan Chamatin than Dr. Boamah. So we are ready for any of them. And Donnie, I'm assuring you that the NDC is going to be victorious in the 2024 elections. And not only are we going to be victorious, the victory of the people, the votes of the people will determine the presidency. Their votes will count.
Okay, Dr. Peter Boamah Otokunor, former Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, has been here with us. We have Womenpreneur coming up. We're talking Kaba and Slit.
But Johnny,
yeah.
but you know, Willie doesn't know that you are called Optical.
He doesn't know.
He doesn't know.
Oh, he will know.
Oh, that is his nickname. I mean, he used to be called. So he's aka Optical, alias Optijon.
he doesn't know. Flesh and blood did not reveal it to him.
Oh yes. No, he's actually family.
Okay.
Johnny, I grew up with his uncle.
Okay.
His father's twin brother. I stayed with him.
Okay.
I stayed with him for almost about 10 years.
I see.
Yes.
Nice.
So his family is my brother. Willie is my brother.
Nice one.
Yeah, Willie is my brother. He's my brother.
Stay with us here on Sunrise. Helen has a conversation coming up for you. You don't want to miss it.